Hello, hello, brother sewing and crafting family. Brand Ambassador Angela Wolf here, and boy, do we have a fun show for you today. We're still organizing. January is the month to get organized, and wait till you see the tips we've got this time. See you in a second. All right, welcome to the organizing party. We are going to have so much fun today. So if you've missed some of the last few episodes, you can go back on Brother YouTube or Facebook and watch this. So we are live streaming on Brother Sewing and Crafting, Facebook and YouTube pages. I can see all your comments. I see the wolf pack rolling in. Many of you say from the cold. Well, let me tell you, I'm in Michigan and we're up to about 8 inches of snow right now. So thankfully I'm at the studio. I might be here for a few days. So let's bring Barb and Cathie to the party because wait till you see what they have planned for you today. Hi, ladies.
Good morning.
So great to see you. And we have been talking organizing. Doesn't it seem like January is always that month of organizing?
It is. Like, get my life back together.
I don't know what happens in December. I don't know if it's from all the chaos going on, but I'm still cleaning my studio today. I cleaned the floors today. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but we're not going to get into that. Let's get into some fun stuff. Cathie, you got to hold up that little organizing bin that you have there so everyone can see what you're going to be working on today. This is so cute.
So I like to make these little fabric bins, and it's quilted, but I don't know if you can really tell too much about it. But then as I gather fabric, this is fabric that I've chosen to make a quilt for my sister for Christmas. And I'll keep everything in this bin until the quilt top gets done.
That's very cute. When you showed us that earlier, well, we all chat before the show. When you were showing that, here, I'll take that off your head. I was looking at that and I'm looking at my stash behind me that needs organizing. I'm going to need a much bigger bin than that.
Well, you can make them in all different sizes. I was trying to make a tote bag with decorative stitches earlier this week, and I had a couple that didn't want to feed right or stitch right, and I hated throwing all of my decorative stitching away. So I just repurposed that fabric and made another bin out of it, and this time I didn't turn down a cuff. I could because it's fully lined, but I just like seeing all the pretty stitches on that.
That's really cute. Are you going to show us how to actually make that?
I am.
Oh, yay.
So it's really easy. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is twin needle quilting. And I'm going to be working on the BQ 2500, which is part of Brothers Quilt lineup of machines. And it came with the new compact digital dual feed foot. And after I take that foot off, I will show you the difference between the two. But I'm first going to talk about some twin needles. And we're going to show you some twin needle quilting.
So we had a few laughs this week. Cindy was on Tuesday. We were talking about the Move It foot. And I have the original, which is a little bigger. And she said the new one, it's more like getting a little tush tuck. I told her.
It is.
We all love a tush tuck. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to switch cameras so I can get you on my twin needles.
Sounds good. While she's swapping to her twin needles, Barb, I know you have some very fun organizing tips for fabric and little places around your studio that you're going to be showing us as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. All right, Cathie, we can see you great.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the twin needle sizes. This little orange pack right here is one that came in my machine. And the size, the first number, the 2, that means there's 2 millimeters in between the two needles. This one over here is a 2 millimeter width between the two needles, and it's a size 80 needle. This particular one is a size 80 needle, but it's 3 millimeters. So you can see there's a little bit more space in between. And then we'll go to a 4 millimeter space, another 80 needle. And this particular one happens to be 6 millimeters wide, and it's a size 100 needle. So if you'll notice that there's a central shank followed by a bar that both needles go extruded. So I've got a 0 by 80 needle already in my machine. And what you want to do is just put your auxiliary spool stand, or I happen to have the extra spool stand on my machine, and you're going to thread it just as normal with both of your threads. So let me just move to my needle area so you can see that.
And we see your beautiful move it foot.
There you go. So the first thread, the one that goes into your left needle, you need to put that thread behind the thread guide on the needle bar. The second thread, the one that goes on the right, you take it through the threading path as you normally would, but that thread stays in front of the thread guide, and you just thread the needle from there. So what I'll show you to start with some of the things that I've practiced with. And as you can see, I did just a straight stitch right down the center. I've used my twin needles over here a little bit on the side. And for this heavier thread, that's actually the triple stitch. So that's one of the reasons why I really like using my twin needle, is because I can use the same thread, but actually make the stitch look heavier and more pronounced. And so not only can you just do your straight lines of stitching, but you can also utilize with the move it foot some of your decorative stitches. And I wanted to point out, and you probably, if you just looked at this right now, you wouldn't see any problems. But if I pointed out, like right down here, I noticed that I was skipping some stitches. And what is the first thing that we always blame when our machine is not sewing right?
First off, I gotta say, I'm looking really close and I don't even see those skip stitches.
They're right in here.
Oh, but, well, you did a good job. What do we do usually? I don't know. Sometimes I will change the needle, but what do you think?
Well, the first thought for me was to go ahead and clean out my machine, because I didn't know when I had cleaned the bobbin area last. Oh. And so I did that and tried sewing again, and it was still skipping stitches or dropping stitches. And then I thought, I really don't have time to take my machine in to have it serviced. And so then I started playing with different needles. And the problem that I find with the twin needles is that I use them so seldom that I'll use it for one project and then I'll put it back in the pack and use it again later on. And so, not knowing how old that needle was, I just kept playing with needles and till I finally got it to stitch perfectly. So if your machine is not stitching right, maybe try swapping out the needle.
That's a really good tip. I would love to know, everyone watching here, by the way, what's the first thing you do when you get skipped stitches? Because everyone has their own little, like, what order you do things in. So I'd love to see in the comments. And also, by the way, Cathie says when you're using that twin needle, which that actually looks awesome, by the way, that fabric that you made, don't use the automatic needle spreader.
Do not use the automatic needle spreader. That is the hardest part about using a twin needle, and that's having to thread your needle manually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another one that I made. And now I'm going to just show you how easy it is. So I'm picking this, we'll start out with just the straight stitch. And when I'm making my own quilted fabric, I will usually mark a line on my fabric, either with a chalk marker or heat erasable or something. And then I'll, from that point on, then I use my quilting bar. So let me get it up under the needle. And I always like to put my needle down to start with. So I'm just going to stitch. And I stitch, I'm kind of a pedal to the metal type sewer. So I always have to adjust the speed so that I don't get going too fast. And it's very, very easy. And you get an awesome look by being able to use two different colors. So doesn't that add a nice different look to that?
That looks awesome.
But I can also use this twin needle. I'm going to stitch another row, and the only thing about this quilt guide bar that goes on the move it foot, there's one for the right and one for the left. But I'm going to use this inside one, and that should be about an inch apart. And let's just try a decorative stitch. And it will tell you if a decorative stitch can't be used. This is the rickrack stitch. And so it's a heavier zigzag. And I'm just going to lengthen it and adjust the width a little bit. I think I've adjusted the width to 5, and I've got the length at 3.5. And now my quilt bar is just going to guide along this row of previously sewn stitches. But it's a fun way to make different types of quilted fabric for your projects. Quilted coats are really a big fashion thing right now. You're seeing them in the stores everywhere. And so that's on my to-do list, is to make the quilted coat. So I'm going to look for fabrics. And I think I'm just going to decorate it with quilting and not have the fabrics be as much about blocks or that sort of thing. I just want the quilting to show up in it.
That's a good idea, Cathie. And yes, that's one of the biggest trends. It's on my bucket list too. Maybe we'll have to get together. And what about you, Barb?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit of twin needle stitching. And I don't know if you noticed, and I'll pick a different stitch. Let's go to the feather stitch. And again, I'm making it a little bit wider and a little bit longer. But even with the move it foot, you can use stitches that go from side to side, forward and back. See, that's going forward and then back and then forward and then back. So that's the nice thing about using the move it foot. You can even use some of your decorative stitches and you still get that consistent feed from the top and the bottom. So it's fun to just try different types of thread and different weights of thread. I had one where I used this Brother Metallic thread, and I think if I used it again, I would probably try the triple stitch with it because it was very light and didn't show up real well. But it's just enough to add a little sparkle.
So by the way, while you're showing that, there's been a lot of questions of people who have never used the twin needle before. So they can't quite see how close enough to your needle, but that shank that you showed goes up in, like you would thread it or put that needle in just like a regular needle. There you go. Yeah. So that goes into the machine. And some people were saying, well, then what do you do? How do you get 2 spools of thread in there? Do you just thread them both the same? So could you just give a little more specifics on there?
Okay, so on my machine, I have 1 spool of thread on my horizontal spool holder. And then this particular machine has a two spool thread stand that attaches to it. So I've got my second spool of thread there. And I've even wound a bobbin with a second thread color sometimes to use. And I just thread the machine as I normally would, first with the thread that's going in the left needle. Let's see if I can, I'm trying not to make you drunk.
Well, a little too early for that, so we're good.
Okay, so this is the thread that's in my left needle. This is the thread that's in my right needle. So it's on this auxiliary thread stand that comes with my machine. And so it goes through the thread path as you normally would. And the only exception, again, is down here right at the thread guide. So you can, I don't know if you can see, I can't zoom with this camera, but I have the thread through the left needle is behind this thread guide that's on my needle bar. And the thread that's going through the right needle is just loose right here in front. And then it goes into the eye of the needle.
Perfect.
That
Oh,
help a little?
those stitches look just beautiful. And I see, hey, Libby, yeah, no worries. Anybody that rolled in late, you can go back and watch from the beginning. So we'll just keep rolling because the twin needle is so much fun.
Okay, and so another thing that I wanted to point out, Angela, about the twin needle, and I don't know if you can tell on this camera, one side has a flat side like our normal needles do, and the other side is rounded. So I always make sure that I put the flat side to the back.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm going to let Barb show you around a little bit, and I'm going to change needles.
All right, that sounds good. Hey, Barb, maybe you can help for a second while she's switching. Some people were asking, they have the Dream Machine, they have the Move It foot now. And yes, this has been around for a little while. It's not just for the Luminaire. Looks like a little mouse. But they were asking about some of the extra attachments she was showing. They can call their brother dealer and purchase those, can't they? Because they have extra feet. They've got a lot of extra things.
Yeah, there's extra feet for quilting, an open toe, a stitch in the ditch, a 1/4 inch with the flange, and then those bars to do right or left with. So yeah, there's lots of attachments, and yep, talk to your dealer.
Perfect, perfect. So all of you asking, will that work on my Dream Machine? Well, if you have the Move It foot and you buy the extra attachments, you can, and you have the new foot. Yes, the new foot will work on any machine that has the Move It foot. So you have to have that little plug-in in the back of your machine. And if you're unsure, all you have to do is call your brother dealer, tell them what model you have, and they'll say yay or nay.
It's got to be a high shank machine, and then most of those have the ability to use it.
Awesome. So while Cathie, she's just getting her needles lined up and her fabric lined up, do you have a quick feature for us to show us how you organize?
So I'm going to walk you around my studio, and what I want to tell you is this took years to put together. And you all understand that. Like, you start with the little space and you cram things in a closet, and that's what you have. And then as you grow and your kids grow and they leave the house, then you might take over a bedroom, or like Angela went into a studio, and I have moved into my basement when we moved into this townhouse. And I, over the years, have added to my storage in my studio. And that's what I'm going to walk you through, maybe hopefully to inspire you to invest in yourself, because this is the place I spend most of my time when I'm home. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about function. So you're going to see lots of things that are all about function. And I'm also, my background is from the theater. So we learn to use every tiny little piece of space to its best functionality. And so I'll show you some of those. You may laugh, but it works.
Oh, we're going to love that. I can see, if I could hear everybody's voice right now as they were typing earlier, using every little space is really important, especially if we don't have a lot of space. And I do have a lot of space, and I still need more space. So I can't wait to see this.
Is Cathie ready?
Let's see. You ready, Cathie?
I'm ready.
All right. So we'll have Cathie come on, and then we'll bring Barb back to show us a little bit of your room. So go ahead, Cathie.
So when we were talking about the Move It foot, and y'all did mention that there are different plates or soles available. This one is the 1/4 inch with the guide. You've got the flange there. This one is the stitch in the ditch. This is the standard one that comes with the machine or with the foot. I happen to have the open toe one on my machine because as I'm stitching the decorative stitches, I like to be able to see them. And this one right here has a small hole. So it's the couching foot. So I can couch various yarns and decorative threads and stuff down as I wish. So I just wanted to show those. Those were the ones that are available. With the BQ 2500, you get a couple with it, and I'm not sure right off the top of my head. I don't remember which ones came with it, but there are 2, I believe, with the new BQ 2500. The 3100, I think all the different soles come with that machine, if I'm not mistaken. But now I'm just going to show you how I would just use this quilting guide, and I'll just do a regular needle with my little feather stitch set at the same thing. And it's very easy just to follow along, unless you have somebody that sneaks in behind you when you're sewing. And then I'll sometimes get startled and get a crooked line. But it looks like I've used this needle a little bit too much because it's skipping some stitches for me as well. A handy little thing that I found with a lot of the machines that have the lids on them, on the corner where the lid snaps down, there's a little magnet. And that's a good place to store your needle. Like if you change needles, like I changed from a regular needle to a twin needle, I can just store my regular needle right up here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Cathie, how many years have we had these machines? Barb, do you do that? I never even thought about that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I did that. I found it by accident one day. You know, my needle was up there and it's like, oh, it's staying.
Brilliant.
So that's just a fun little tip. So what I've done is I've taken, I usually start with an oversized square of fabric. And this was, I think I started out at 12 by 12 inches. And I cut it down to 11 by 11 after I used my twin needle to quilt it. Can you see the quilting in there?
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And I'm going to cut out just 2.5 inch squares out of the bottom right and left corners. So after I cut those out of both the front and the back, and they're both quilted the same, or you could quilt them differently, just play with your stitches. It's a good opportunity just to play with your stitches. And I've just used a thin cotton batting behind these, but it's a way to use up fabric as well when you don't have much fabric.
I see a lot of people.
Wow. Sew the sides together.
Hey, Cathie, we can't see what you're doing there, just so you know.
Oh, okay. I just cut the squares out of the corners.
Okay.
So I had marked the corners with a 2.5 inch square, and then I just trimmed those out. So I'm going to put my camera angle back down.
Great.
And then all it is just a matter of, whoops, my needle came unthreaded. We're going to use it. Oh no, it's so hard to thread this needle, isn't it?
That's like if you're on a live show and the twin needle comes unthreaded, you're just like, but you're not using a twin needle right now. You're using the regular needle, just to be clear.
I'm using the regular needle. And so I'm just going to sew, oops, I guess I need to go to a straight stitch. That helps. And I've just sewn the sides, both sides together. I'm going to sew the bottom. I won't sew the second side, but I will show you how I box the corners. And it's the same measurements for the lining fabric. So if you have an 11-inch finished square for your basket, then you want 11-inch squares for your lining. And then I'm just going to take, and since I cut those squares out, I'm going to line up my seams and I'm just going to nest them. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to sew that seam, and that's going to give me the box or the shape to my basket or box or whatever you want to call it.
So Cathie, while you're sewing that, I see a lot of people saying, someone said, I've used that foot, but I forgot to put the little button on the side where you can actually use the foot or not use the foot. And you can use the foot engaged or disengaged. I see a couple people talking about that. So there you go. Oh.
Okay,
perfect.
so this is the old Move It foot, and this is with it disengaged, the roller is up. This is with it engaged, the roller is down. So that means that the roller is going to be touching your fabric. So
yep. Sometimes you forget to plug it in the back of the machine.
as well, there is the plug that does plug into the back of the machine. And yes, that has happened on occasion. But anyway, so I just wanted to show you basically how you're going to box your corner with those squares that you've cut out. And that's going to provide the shape that you want. And then I would finish the other side and the other corner and then line it. I have found that whenever I'm lining these, that instead of leaving an opening in the side of the lining to turn it, I prefer to just put right sides together, the lining with the outer basket fabric, and leave myself like a 4 or 5 inch opening at the top to turn it with. To me, it just seems like it's a little bit easier to turn.
That's a good
But
tip.
I have these fabric boxes all over my sewing room. Here's another one that I keep all my little thread snips and stuff in. It's got my little clips on the top, and I just keep it off to the side over by my machine, so it's real handy to grab from.
So just Cathie, a quick question for you. Do you by any chance, I know you said you cut in 2 inches and 2 inches. Do you have any ratio if somebody wants to make a bigger one or a smaller one, or do you just wing it?
Well, I started out with, when I was using the finished size of 11 inches square, or, you know, the finished, or the size of my block to start with was 11 inches.
Okay.
And I cut a 2.5 inch square out. And I found that for every 2 inches that my square got bigger, I went up a 1/2 inch.
Okay.
For my squares. I mean, just do an internet search. There's little tables out there that are already out there. But that's just kind of what I've been going with. And I don't usually make one much smaller than this little 11 inch square one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I'm going to switch, and we're going to take a look at some of Barb's storage ideas.
Sounds good. All right, Barb, I'm bringing you back to the party. Let's see some of your organizing.
Okay, so I'm going to do some walking around. And so I'm going to try really hard not to make you go crazy here. But I'm going to start in this corner of my room, and it's my desk area. Computer, printer, stuff like that. Then just to the left of my desk, I have 3 thread racks hanging on the wall. So
I love those. Those look so good. That's like, oh my goodness, your thread looks fabulous.
Well, it's handy. It's like right by my machines. So just to the right of my desk is where I start my sewing table. And I'm short, so I cannot use regular height tables at all. So I have rolling carts under here with drawers, but I have no wheels on them because they would be too tall for me. So I'm 5 feet tall, and that makes it hard. So in my rolling carts that don't roll, 2 of these drawers are office supplies, and 1 is full of hoops. You can see the one in the middle that is full of the hoops. And then I come over here. My surface is made out of abandoned bowling alley. It was free. So there was no cost to that. And it's extremely sturdy. And it's just held up by 2x4s. Now, I could paint those and make them fancy or something, but they work just great. And then I have another drawer system in here. Hang on, I got to grab my microphone to walk with me. I'm trying not to make you crazy.
We got you. We're following.
Okay, so I come over here, and these drawers are for my everyday sewing. And in the top drawer, I have, everything I need at my fingertips. I don't know why this won't pull for me. Oh, I know why. Got it. And it's like, my pins and my clips and bobbins and all that stuff that you need right at your hand. And I use whatever I have to store things in, no cost. So these came with something else free, and so they work, and I use those. And then this drawer is on my feet for my machines, which is really handy. And then the bottom is all my sewing thread. So
you're so organized.
It's just organized in trays that are for a desk drawer. And I had those over the years at different places, and I just keep storage things. So that's sewing thread, and the different bobbin keepers. One is for sewing thread, and the other is for embroidery thread, the other color. So then I'll come back up here on top, and I have these little things that Cathie is talking about around my room. And this one sits here for whatever project I'm working on that I need particular things for. And so that's always changing of what's in there. Then I have one of these crazy chaos things that has everything at my fingertips, my scissors, my seam rippers, my markers, all that kind of stuff. And that's right in between 2 of my machines. There's a Dream. And here's my luminaire set up for sewing. And I come on around and I have a luminaire for embroidery. Now, this one belongs to Brother, and I am grateful for that because it's really nice to go back and forth. And I love my 10 needle spool holder because
I love that 10 needle spool holder. That's, by the way, all of you watching, that is something you can get at a Brother dealer, but that is awesome.
Yes. You'll notice I have a couple. There's one over there and there's one over here. So I really, really use those. Now, next to my desk, I'm going to come back around here on the left side, next to the threads, is a built-in closet that I was lucky enough to move into.
I think we lost your voice, Barb. We lost Barb's voice. Her mic might have come undone, maybe.
Yep. Got me back?
Yep, we got you back.
So in here, I use these shelves for my manuals and my blanks that I can make up something quick, my ironing supplies. The tins are either my mother's or my grandmother's, and they're special to me. They're sentimental, and they're labeled buttons, zippers, Velcro, whatever. So all of that stuff is easy to find. Then I have software in this area, and
oh, wow.
so I have a lot of space for stuff. And my snaps are up there, cam snaps, and my markers and so forth. And in the corner here are bolts of specialty fabrics. A lot of it is home deck, or maybe I just have a whole bolt of moire back there, stuff like that. So that's where I store the large containers or large pieces of fabric. Then I'm going to come back here and real quick, I'm going to switch this camera, and it's just a click of a button. So this is a storage area that hopefully you can still hear me and see. We always need more surface to put things on. And if your only surface is your cutting area, then it's always full of stuff. And then you got to clean that off before you can cut. So I went and got these. Shelving or tabletop or something.
You, Barb. For some reason, I don't know where you went. We just see your little eyeball now.
Okay.
I'm watching all, oh, we lost Barb totally. All right, well, while we're waiting for Barb to come back, Cathie's ready, so you're gonna have to hold that thought because I'm dying to see what's under that fabric. Oh my gosh, I did see your tailor's clapper on there though. Hey, Cathie, are you ready?
I am.
Well, we're gonna let you take over while Barb is troubleshooting her camera.
So another thing that I had a storage problem with is all of the cables for running my computers and cameras and stuff. I mean, my modem is in my husband's office, so it has to go across the guest bedroom, down the hallway, into my room, and across. So I've just had these big, long Ethernet cable type things that I was having a problem with keeping in order. So I had seen where someone had just stitched a round circle out of fabric and used that to hold the ends together. So I thought, why not use my circular sewing attachment? This is the one from Brother.
I love that attachment.
It comes with this clear grid so that if you want to make sure that you can measure out and do math and make sure that your stitches are going to come out even. It also comes with 2 additional feet. You get a braiding foot and a cording foot, and then the little screw to attach this to the machine. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's attached to the bed of my machine.
Oh, yeah.
But I took and stitched some decorative stitches, and this one point right here, you can see where those stitches didn't come out even, but I'm not worried about that. The next row, I played with the length of the stitch, and I did get them to come out right at the same point, or, a full stitch at the end where the first one started. But my trick is I'm just going to start all in about the same place, so that if I have an oops like this one, I can always turn that to the back that may be hanging against the wall or hanging on pegboard somewhere, but you don't always see it. So it's nice to have those that you can tuck in. So what I did was, after I stitched my decorative stitches, now I've put another piece of cork fabric on the back, and I just chose a straight stitch, and I'm going to elongate the stitch a little bit, and I'm going to just sew around. And the nice thing about this is it just feeds it, and it sews a great circle. And after I take it off, I'm just going to trim it out and put a snap on it, and that will hold my cords in a more organized fashion, I guess you should say.
Oh, I love that. Are you using variegated thread?
I am. I love variegated thread.
Me too, but that looks really good.
And I just kind of pet the fabric.
Wow.
And now I'm back where I started from, and I'm just going to go over it a couple of stitches. And I'll go ahead and take this pen out, and you can see that that's stitched the back court fabric right here. so that you don't see any of the stitching on the inside.
Good
and
idea.
I'll trim that out, put a snap on it, and I'll be good to go. But with this circular sewing attachment, it just attaches to the bed of your machine, and you've got the pen right here that you can put in the center of your project, and then you can just slide this up to 130 millimeters away from your needle, or go all the way in and get little tiny circles.
Love that attachment. Love that attachment.
Andy did an awesome looking tote bag or purse one time using decorative stitches and the circular sewing attachment. But while we're waiting for Barb to come back, I wanted to show the difference between the two move it feet. Can
One
you
has
see the difference
One
inside?
has a lift and one does not.
Yep. And they're thinner too.
Oh, yeah.
So they're great. And
Also,
if you were to buy the quilt bar attachments, it comes with this little piece that's right here on the top. And this is where you slide your quilt bars in.
You read my mind. That was my next question. A lot of people said, where does that go? Right there.
Yep. It's just a little piece. You've got one screw to just attach it. And if you'll notice on this one, there's the little cutout. Maybe.
Yeah. We can see
the
it.
little cutout for it.
Yeah.
And it fits right in there, and you just tighten it up with one screw. I just leave it on because it doesn't get in my way if I'm not using the quilting bars.
Very nice.
So if Barb's back, we can
She
go
is.
back to her.
Barb's back. I'll take you out for a minute.
I can't hear you, Angela. Can you hear me?
I can
Just
hear
shake
you.
your head. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and go on. So what I have over here is just extra surface because we have things we need to put down. But underneath, covered up by just a piece of blue fabric, is all of my samples that I packed to take to different events. And they're sorted out by machines. So I have specific samples for certain machines if I'm going to be showing, different things. And that goes all the way down to the end there. So I have a lot of stuff packed under there. And you see that this is held up just by these metal shelving units. And they're very inexpensive to do. So that's how I created that surface. Now I'm going to move down. I have a 7-foot hallway, and it's useless basically if, what can you do in 7 feet? My whole studio is 7 feet wide. It's just long and skinny. So I'm going to show you what I have down this hallway, and I'm going to try to walk this so you can see me. So I hope that you don't lose me.
If we do,
I still don't know why I can't.
Oh, we lost her. Those cameras can be touchy. We're waiting for her to come back. Hey, Cathie, by the way, someone was asking, what does that circle? So we're switching back while Barb gets her camera back on. Oh, she's back. Come on back up here, Barb. There you are.
Let me go here. Okay. As long as you can hear me, I'm going to go this way. So here is my hallway, and it starts with my 10 needle.
Hey, Barb. She doesn't realize we lost her. I'll take her out for a second, then she'll know we lost her. We lost her hearing. You got to love live shows. So, hey, Cathie, just real quick on that circular attachment, a lot of people were asking, will that work on any machine? Almost all of them. They have to have the couple
Almost all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've used it on my little NS80 machine.
Yeah.
So.
Hey,
Can
Barb.
you hear me, Angela?
Yes, you're back. Yep.
Now, okay, here we go. So these are tool chests. And like I said, I didn't start with these by any stretch of the imagination. And it took me years to build this up. So I would ask for one of these chests every year for Christmas for 3 years, and that's how I got 3 of them. They are normally taller because there's a major set of wheels on the bottom of them, but I took those off again because I need my cutting surface shorter. And I love these, and if you can invest in this, it was like $300 each, and if that's all I got for Christmas, everybody pitched in. Now I have this amazing storage unit and cutting surface. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what is in the drawers, but I also use all of my vertical space. This is really, really important. So that's where I put my rulers, and I have some art things up there that were given to me as gifts or made by grandkids, that kind of stuff. So my first drawer here, right next to my 10 needle, has all of my 10 needle supplies, my hoops, my bobbins, my tools, and then behind my 10 needle, I have some things, drivers and so forth, on the wall, and they're just up there with nails. That's it. And then below this drawer, I have 3 drawers of stabilizer, and there are 3 drawers in a row with all different kinds of stabilizer. So again, it's handy to just pull out and cut. And then I can move on over here and show you that. Then I go into some of my drawers where I have fabric. These are the pieces of fabric that are less than a yard, but not a tiny scrap. And each drawer has different colors. And of course, they're all labeled on the front of the drawer, so I know which drawer to open up. So this is nice when I need a scrap piece, but not scrap, if you know what I mean. Next to that are all my cutting tools, obviously scissors, rotary cutters, pens, markers, tape, more small scissors, everything I need to work, my weights, my clips, and so on my surface right here. And again, more drawers under that with all kinds of fabric. Then this last big drawer, top drawer here, is all scan and cut stuff. And with that comes my scan and cut mats. Again, using the wall space, because what else do you do with that space except make it usable? So then I added this year these bins. They were $2 a piece. And I put my scraps, my small scraps, in these. And I did this because I had this area 12 inches wide by 9 inches. I have to be able to open this door. And it was wasted space, which drove me crazy. So I bought these bins and sorted all my scraps and by color. And now when I need to grab a scrap for an applique, I can just open the color bin that I need. So now I have spots for small scraps and spots for things that are less than a yard.
Barb.
This closet was built in also, but it was built in to hide the mechanisms of water in the house. So I made use of it. I bought those really inexpensive plastic shelving units, and now I have batting up there. These are specialty fabrics like velvet and lame and some upholstery fabric, scan and cut things all down there, again, right next to where I need all my scan and cut stuff. And then these are fabrics that are a yard or more, but not a bolt. And they are just by color, so I can grab whatever I need quickly. Now, this closet, if you go back that way, there was nothing back there. It was just empty space. So I had my son cut a hole in the wall and stick a door in. I don't have a handle on it, but that's okay. I opened it from the bottom. And now I have more storage because another one of these inexpensive shelving units. This is all wool because I do a lot of wool work. And I even sort out my scraps by colors in these little bags. Below that's Minky and the other stuff that's fuzzy. And then I have on this side of the hallway, the other half of that thing I cut in half for more surface. Because when I'm cutting and I'm done cutting, I like to lay what's done behind me so my surface is still clean. So then I have space here, and there are some bolts of fabric, a big garbage thing. Then the last thing I added was, these are 3 kitchen cabinets, upper kitchen cabinets, but I found them on, a place like Let Go or whatever for $20 a piece. So this cost me $60.
Wow.
Exactly. And then I love this new storage. So these are all patterns, all different kinds of patterns. The next one is my scan and cut stuff. So my scan and cut fits very nicely right in there. My manual, some of my tools, and all the t-shirts that are waiting to be done. You know how that goes. And then the last one I have now, all serger stuff. So my serger threads, specialty threads, my feet, I have yarn in there, which has nothing to do with serging, but it's in there. So again, here is my hallway that was absolutely wasted space. And over the years, I either added things, economically, or I got the big cabinets. And then 1 year after I got the cabinets, I got my mats. And I may add some more of these cabinets down there because it'll be a cleaner look. And I may not because it works just fine. And then I used another piece of the wall here to hang hoops on, because I have hoops in a drawer, but now I have more hoops that will fit in a drawer. And so I just hang them up there. So this is my 7-foot wide studio, machines down at that end and cutting and so forth at this end. And that's, I think, all I have for you for now. I'll come back.
I know she can't hear us. So when she comes, she'll be back here in a sec. Oh, there you are. Can you hear us now? While she's coming back here, I just have to say, I love that counter space. Oh my gosh, I love that. And everything was so organized down below. But I have to say, and I'll wait to hopefully Barb, when she comes back, she can hear us. One of the things she added this year were those little bins with scraps. I was just organizing. Notice my camera isn't on that side of my studio. I was just organizing a huge pile of fabric that I have some little like half a yard and a half. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these? I don't want to throw them out. They're useful. So I love that, those little bins.
So one of the things that I do with my fabric, Angela, to store it is I bought comic book boards that the, let's see if I can get one out. It's things that people store in with their comic books, but it's acid free, so it won't hurt my fabric.
Oh.
And I wrap my fabric around it. I just fold the yardage in half and wrap it around it. So when they're sitting in my fabric closet, they look like little mini bolts. And I just try to keep it organized by color. But another thing that I found were these little clips. These are the ones that you get from the dry cleaners or when you're buying men's dress shirts.
Oh, yeah.
And they make awesome little clips just to hold your fabric. So I usually put one at each end. And then I can shelve my fabric. And if it's a full yard or more, I wrap it this way. But if it's less than a full yard, I wrap it this way.
Great idea.
I use those little clips to hold it. So when I'm looking for something, I know that I have less than a yard on here.
That's a great idea. I see somebody saying I use those too. I have those clips all the time. I never think about using them. And I feel so bad. Barb can't come back up here because Barb, just so you know, if you watch the replay, the comments, they are loving your room.
So I've gotten a lot of inspiration from the last group show when they were talking about the reusing kitchen cabinets. And my sewing space is going to go through a major overhaul this year. I've been in this space for 12 years. It's just like it was when we moved into this house, and it's no longer working. So if you'll notice, both machines behind me are against a wall or, back to a wall. And I want to be able to arrange it so that I'm not up against a wall all the time.
That would make sense.
We think we've got it figured out. I figured out what was the biggest monster in the room that was taking up the most space that I could do without. And I am going to use everyone's suggestions about reusing kitchen cabinets.
I think I love those kitchen cabinet ideas. By the way, where do you put your stabilizer right now?
For me, I have a cutting table that has a drawer all the way through. And so my stabilizer stays in one of those drawers.
Nice. Hey, Barb, can you hear us? Barb? Nope, she sure cannot.
Well, I'm glad it's somebody else this time and not me.
You gotta love technology, don't you? All right, so I would love to hear from you all. What was your favorite tip today? Because there were a lot. I have to say those little bins though, and I've got a ton of them. I now have a solution for that stash of fabric over there. And I love having it organized by kind of colors. So you can just quickly go through the bins. I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Cathie, you have to make sure that while you renovate your studio that you keep popping back in and give us progress reports. Can we have that?
I will. I think what I'm going to do first, Angela, is I've just got to start boxing everything up as if I were moving.
Oh.
And I'm going to make a donate box, a keep box, and a what was I ever thinking box.
What was I? I have to just like go like this. When I moved into this building 3 or 4 years ago, I don't even know how long it's been now, I'm still unpacking. So if you're going to box everything up, I hope you do it in a more organized fashion than I did. We'll go with that.
It's going to be a little bit at a time, and I'm going to store it out in the barn until I get the floors redone and the new furniture in. And hubby said all I had to do was ask and he would help. So
that's awesome. Well, we're excited to see that. So Barb, I know you can't hear us. I can see just your eye, but this has been a fantastic show. I love all the tips. Organizing. We should just do organizing all year. Maybe by December, we'll be organized. So everyone's saying thank you, thank you. If you're looking for any of the attachments that you saw today, the circular, look down below. It says Brother. Just go to the Brother Sews page. You can go to brother.com, brotherusa.com, whichever one you want. And I can see Barb flashing in and out. So if she shows back up, I'll bring her up. But you can go there, call your brother dealer. And someone was saying, Cathie, why do you have 2 move-it feet? Well, the new one is the smaller one. So you don't have to have 2. That's the newest. Oh,
one came with my luminaire and one came with the my quilting machine, the NQ2500.
Can you hear us, Barb? She cannot. So we'll just wave at you.
I still can't hear you.
Well, everyone, thank you for this awesome show. Brother, thank you for letting us take over your page. And if you enjoyed this show, be sure to share to your Facebook page to watch again. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And I can't think of anything else, but brother, thank you for letting us take over your page. We'll be back. Let's see, today's Thursday, right? It's kind of hard to tell when you're stuck inside with the snow. And Cathie, you are going off to a brother dealer for a great event this week. So you have fun in Texas.
Thank you.
And maybe you'll run into some of the fans.
Maybe.
All right. Until next time, everyone. Happy sewing.
Thank you.